Go ahead.
Is the idea supposed to be as long as
the outcome of the election is so
oh my God, shut
enormous
a week ago?
And I'm sorry, like, you can't say in one breath that you understand that kind of logic, and then in the next breath, and I'm talking to you, Vadim, tell me that you're not going to judge people who didn't vote for Kamala. It's ridiculous. It's inconsistent.
Well,
wait, that's a lie, right? Wait, hang on a second. That's a lie, isn't it? Ogre, you just lied.
Yes or no?
Wait, Ogre.
He was just commenting on Hutch's reaction.
No, I just want to be clear. Was that a lie? You just lied, right?
It was being hyperbolic and sarcastic. But it doesn't answer.
I've stopped this a lot over the past few months. This whole like analogy thing. I'm starting to hate analogies. Analogies are supposed to be there for things that are kind of difficult to understand, or maybe they can kind of tease out some other moral principle. But I feel like the voting thing is quite simple. I don't know why you would even need to use an analogy on this at all. This is a pretty simple thing. The harm reduction concept, everything here is like very, very, very simple.
no,
Okay? You
no,
cannot
that's
tell
not
me in one breath that Donald Trump is a fascist, and then in the next breath tell me, but I'm going to stop
Don't
short of
tell me
endorsing
what
the
I
only
think.
person that could be
Don't
her.
tell me what I think.
See, he's
telling
like,
you, bro.
this is like Nick Shirley.
Well, they don't appreciate the president keeping a distance from the DOJ and letting the DOJ speak through indictments only, which is how the public trusts them in the first place. They're completely ignoring what we talked about at the end of the last podcast, that the public needs to trust what the DOJ is saying in the first place.
And also, I'm sorry, and I know I'm speaking a lot, I'll let you guys talk. There just isn't a smoking gun proof that shows Trump's criminality in all this. There isn't. And the stuff about his connections to Epstein, we knew about right before the election. Like, it was known that he was generally aware. Like, he gave that comment to the New York Post or New York Magazine or whatever, which, come on, what did that comment mean? We all knew he was best friends with Epstein. And so there's just no smoking gun here in terms of the inculpability of specifically Donald Trump. And so I think it's a gross departure from the standards of the DOJ to do this.
I have to just interject here because just so much is redacted. How can you really make that determination from what we haven't seen?
Well, no, sorry. Wait, I just want to address that. So the claim is, look at all this shit that Biden had. The claim is being made from these people. We've seen all this stuff. They had it. And the fact that Merrick Garland didn't release it shows their incompetence. But of course, I'm judging that claim. The claim that there was something advantageous for them to drop in that moment and that it wouldn't have been a breach of norms. I'm not speculating as to what's not revealed. I'm speculating on the actual comment made by people on the basis of what has been revealed.
I mean, at a certain point, though, aren't you also talking about a matter of priorities or prioritizing?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like if you did have a guerrillion documents and the potential there to stop like truly bad people, you would think even if it was just at the DOJ level, there would be something there that you would want to shift into that and persecute it like just a little bit further. Like, I haven't heard what I've had it podcast said about this. I understand the general theme of, why didn't they move on it more? It does seem like any leader, you can still essentially be hands off in trying to insist that someone takes that kind of a direction, but at the same time, you can make sure that people are actually looking into criminality, right?
So what does Biden do? Biden says, hey, Merrick, go release all the documents that are bad about Trump. Like, what did you want him to do?
Well, it's not. No. It's not a matter of like make sure you're looking specifically into the thing about Trump. But like, if the inverse of that would be to basically say like, don't touch it at all, or something to that extent. I'm just saying.
But you don't have evidence that happened. That's a problem, right? Like,
No, wait.
It's still. It's not a matter of no evidence at all. It's still one of the most like notorious international sex criminals, trafficking rings in the history of the modern era. Why would
We're losing the thread here. Hold on. Their complaint was not that Biden refused to investigate Donald Trump or Merrick Garland refused to investigate Donald Trump.
If they didn't tell him to release stuff.
Yes, their complaint was that he didn't just release it to the public for political reasons to tank Donald Trump's chances of winning.
And the question is, what does that look like? Hey, can you tell people to go release documents that are bad about Trump? Like, that is what your people, not you specifically, we're commenting on other people. Well, I don't know if you guys have this opinion, but like, what does that communication from Biden look like? I want an answer to that question. What does that communication from White House to DOJ look like?
I think just
the perception. Oh, can I just add? Because like the perception is like, why was Trump impeached for the first time, right? It's like, oh, hey, give me specific documents that specifically implicate my political opponent, and I want to release these. And also, I'm using
could have released a lot of this information, but the truth is, who was at least in the helm of one of the major investigatory units, and they have, their president in, public interest now is in correcting a lot of misinformation that occurred. And again, you're speaking about the context of an election season. Incompetent they were. They couldn't even use the Epstein story in 2024. It's post hoc.
Disagree with his decision to do that. He completely broke with norms, DOJ policy. I think it's within, is it 60 days or 90 days? It's either 2 or 3 months before an election. They don't do any kind of announcements. They don't do any kind of announcements like that for fear of the perception of them trying to be politically influential.
But here it's like, what crime are we accusing Trump of doing? I mean, like, seriously, what has been released from these documents?
Or grace inside the situation. That's not to say
we like Mehdi. We like Mehdi. I mean, I like Mehdi Hassan, and I grant that there's bad steps that the prosecution has taken with respect to Epstein. I have a problem with the deal that Acosta offered Epstein, and as well with the Florida federal non-prosecution agreement. I have problems that they didn't follow up on leads there, but that is a problem that is I think principally addressed to the U.S. Attorney's Office under leadership of Acosta. That's number one, and I think the agreement happened while Bush was in office. That's a problem perhaps with the Department of Justice allowing for these sort of investigatory leads to fester or whatever. It's not a democratic criticism. It is not a democratic criticism. It's important, I think, to maintain the political independence of the Department of Justice. And that's one of the things that I'm proud of supporting Joe Biden for, is not interfering. Now, I criticize him for his pardon, but at a bare minimum, he did not order, for example, this special counsel that was looking into his son to not look into his son. If he had done so for political reasons, none of us would have any problem calling that corrupt. This is just the inverse of that, saying that we would hope our democratic political leaders to selectively release these documents, it's like saying we should act like Nixon. It's saying we should act like Trump, and that's the ground on which I disagree with it. And I do think it's an example of like the Democrat. What would you call it, Hutch? I always forget your term for it. The funnel chart, the flow chart, because here we have a perfect example of Trump malfeasance, of populist rhetoric that people can achieve to build, and instead we're attacking Joe Biden for doing something honorable, which is not interfering in the Department of Justice.
I just rewatched the clip, and Jennifer Welsh, she talks at the front about like not only is it the right thing to do to like get all these pedophiles, but she does stress the point, and I think this was her primary point, that democracy was on the line, and they should have taken extraordinary steps to release this information to selectively release this information to harm Donald Trump politically to help Kamala win that election. And I'm sorry, like you can't say in one breath that you understand that kind of logic, and then in the next breath, and I'm talking to you, Vadim, tell me that you're not going to judge people who didn't vote for Kamala. It's fucking ridiculous. It's inconsistent.
Well, I mean, I have a lot to say about matters having to do with that, but I kind of will get into that at the appropriate time.
Before we go into that, I have one last question, just because in general, like I really would like to hear the thought process on it. Would you still give Democrats credit for how much they fought to get the files released now versus that you think it's a good idea in general that they didn't press to get any of this released during Biden's administration? That was one of the things last year. That was one of the things last year specifically and leading in the last like 6 months or so. I know, especially from this podcast, overall, the entire thing was look how much of a fighter and how much backbone they're showing in trying to get these files released. Why wasn't that something that was even remotely touched on during Biden's administration?
Is this the same Vadim from the Demon Mama voting drama? Yep.
Because this came from
Trump
Congress.
changed the ground. Trump changed what's going on. His behavior changed. There was everybody's acting like there was an appetite for the Epstein files to be released in 2024. Nobody gave a shit about the Epstein files. In fact, there were 150 names.
Republicans definitely did. Maybe on the Dem side, not as much, but in 2024, I think, in 2025, that was last year. 2024, I feel like in the lead up, I feel like that people did. Yeah, I think so.
It's released due to the civil cases in January of 2024, and nobody cared at all. So the idea that would have even impacted the election, I find ridiculous. People wouldn't have believed it. They would have said it's partisan. Trump would have been a martyr. Anyways, we had 3 other cases against him that were way more serious.
Lots of people were talking about it.
Hold on, I was still talking.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but like a lot of people were talking about it, and there's an argument to be made that like that the the media kind of purposely did not go into it as much as they could have for all kinds of reasons. But anyway, go ahead.
I mean, the media covered a bit as well, but there's just not much. There's not much of substance to get into. Right?
That's not true.
Hold on. I got cut off. Fuck that. Nobody gave a shit about the Epstein files until Pam Bondi screwed it up with her influencer drop that went nowhere. And then the real catalyst.
Yeah, but then the question for IRI is why was that influencer drop even a thing? It happened because there was a demand for it. Now, most of it was on the conservative side, but there was like a demand. There was a demand for it. People wanted to know.
Was Elon Musk tweeting that Trump is in the Epstein files. Until then, nobody cared about the Epstein files.
So as long as
I will say,
I feel like IRI is overplaying this a bit.
People care.
Or overplaying it quite a bit. How much nobody cared. Underplaying it, I guess.
That has changed the tone and caused the public to give a damn. And Democrats have led the charge in representing the public, and a lot of conservatives do, saying it's time to release them now. Now you really can't mess around.
Because the way you're saying it is...
Wait, can I respond? I want to surround the guy because I don't think that nobody cared. I think there was this kind of apathy of no one's going to do anything about it because there was this thing since 2019 where it seemed like no matter what happens, no one's actually going to prosecute. We're not going to see what happens. This guy already got his like plea agreement. They killed him. They're going to get away with it. So I think already there was an appetite from the right, which I think that's why I was saying the Democrats even just rhetorically could have capitalized on that.
I think he's being hyperbolic when he says nobody cared about it. I think what he's saying is that Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and the Trump administration pulled off maybe the biggest example of like a Streisand effect of all time. Like with
I completely agree with this.
Their actions that thrust it into the mainstream, and then all of a sudden everyone was talking about the Epstein files because they were just making the situation worse for themselves at every step of the way, much like Hassan Piker with his shot collar.
One additional thing too, I want to address Vadim's, you're castigating the media a little bit here, and I don't agree with that. I mean, the second indictment of Epstein was itself part of a reaction to the Miami Herald report in 2018. I mean, there has been a great deal of media coverage over this, and even into the lead up to the 2024 election, there was like Daily Beast articles, release of an Epstein conversation with who's this guy who writes all the Trump books. So there has been a great deal of media coverage on Epstein-related matters. There just has been. There was an entire trial of Ghislaine Maxwell that happened during Biden's administration. The truth is, and unfortunately, like I agree with Hutch, I agree with Soypill, that the spotlight this has had, the corruption of the current administration, has now generated an inflection point where people are like, oh, look, this looks fucking fucked up. It has generated new attention for it. The Democrats are capitalizing on it. But let's be honest here. This is not the deciding factor in the election. This is not the issue that most Americans care about in terms of who they're going to elect for president. It just is the case. And so selling this as a big sort of either active decision that Democrats are taking to hide the files or to not take advantage of a wellspring of political opportunity, I think is running into the lack of importance that this issue had in the 2024 election. And also, I think the fact that it would run up into the norms that we tend to respect in this country between interference in the White House and the Department of Justice, or at least I hope it would respect.
Okay, fair enough, but just real quick, I just want to say that like I sort of feel like a little inadequate inside this conversation because there's so many aspects of this that that you're speaking to that I would want to kind of look into before having like like a real conversation like this. So I'm not going to like, sit here and heavily dispute anything that you're saying. However, I will recommend, if you guys are up for it, there is a really wonderful creator who's a good friend of mine, Chill Goblin. He's a leftist, but he's done a lot of videos on Epstein and whatnot. And I'd be interested in seeing you guys have a conversation like that, because he is someone who could definitely kind of not only come in with a very informed perspective about like all of the history and whatnot, he knows like crazy shit about it, but then also he would be able to come in with an informed leftist perspective on this, which I don't have. And I think that probably Ogre has a little bit more than I do. So I'll let him say what he was right about to go into right now.
I was just curious why it has to be the binary of attacking it from the purpose of, like, yeah, I agree. If you think it's going to be like a October surprise type thing, that's dumb. I'll concede that. That's not anything that I've been arguing. But the notion of, like I said, everybody thrives on conspiracy theories. Fucking Area 51, JFK, all this different shit. This was going to be something that people talked about probably for decades.
Different sides definitely play into them more.
Cost the election. No, but I don't really feel like anyone's serious, and I'll include the I've had it gals. I don't think you have to look at them as like serious in this particular.
So where's the negligence, Ogre? Where's the negligence?
Why even point at the Democrats as if they did anything wrong here? It's outrageous to me. It's that flowchart nonsense.
Why would you? If you had the ability to highlight a group of people that were involved in, even if it doesn't meet textbook, like we've run investigations and trials and et cetera, why not at least show that, like, for sake of highlighting people that are basically using the rules in their favor,
did he shoot at me?
Flaunting their wealth to that degree, people that have that level of outreach to where if you gave a fuck, like the degree that Epstein was flaunting Palantir and shit like that to other.
But Ogre, what does that look like?
It's like,
seriously,
why would that,
Ogre, what does that look like for the Democrats' perspective? So I want you to follow that chain of logic. Okay, they should have revealed information, not necessarily just about Trump, but about all these actors using the rules, using the fact that Epstein talked to the Palantir people, that he talked to okay, whatever you want to say there. What does that look like? A Democratic strategist gets on the phone for, Kamala for America, whatever the fucking the PAC is, or the organization says, this is a really valuable opportunity. Now follow that communication line.
You're just
follow it. Follow it.
Same thing. I'm not saying do it as a campaign.
Wait, have they even in this podcast? Because I'm not even that far behind now. I'm 8 minutes behind. Have they even gotten to the Hutch lefty thing yet, or no?
Stunned.
So no. What? The Department of Justice have a meeting and say, how can we get Kamala elected? Starting wherever you want to start it. How does this idea? Ogre, stop.
Why do you keep bringing that up again?
Ogre, you can start it wherever you want to start it. It can start in the halls of the Department of Justice. It can start in the White House. It can start at a super PAC. Where does the idea take hold? And now follow it to the action. That's what I want you to do.
You already started off earlier. You conceded. You said it was not a bad idea, or it's a very true thing that a lot of times, especially for something related to like the JFK assassination, that there can be this thing that captures the public imagination, and therefore it's something that's kind of beneficial to answer a lot of questions and put people's mind at ease.
Beneficial in what way? What do you mean beneficial?
Why do you think people want to know what happened in the JFK assassination?
I'm just asking you to put it. I'm just asking you to put it in words.
Like intellectual magic. Like
I'm asking you what you mean when you say
What do
beneficial.
you know? It's asking you what you mean.
It's restoring faith and transparency about these things
Does
that
it,
people
though?
are curious about that are happening at that level. When they're
Oh, now that we know that our whole government was lying to us about all these things, now we trust them again? You really think that would be the outcome? Dumb. You can make some arguments about what it would do, but that would be the last thing.
One way you do that is not in, one way you do that is you don't interfere in what the DOJ is doing. Okay, you're saying you're not saying that. You're saying don't do that. And so your response to how does this idea take hold that you can use is you should have already been doing stuff anyway, right? That's what you're saying? Did you say that?
I mean, basically, sure.
Okay, so they were doing some stuff. They were prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell. They were undergoing an investigation, which at least alleged. So
well, hold on.
Who decides, hey, let's release information?
At a bare minimum, if the Democrats released it first, doesn't that take away something that Trump's using as his big campaign thing?
That's sorry.
That's a decent point, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I'm asking the way in which the idea comes to light and how it gets channeled for the Department of Justice to do a thing. That's what I'm asking. Not would it have been helpful if X. I'm asking you to provide us with a plausible way in which the idea takes hold, it takes root, and then it gets enacted into action such that it would call into question democratic negligence, that kind of stuff. So please tell us.
But also just to piggyback off what Ogre Boy just said, why would it even enter Merrick Garland's mind to try to take away a potential political thing from Donald Trump? That's not the Attorney General's job. He's not thinking about how do I help Democrats win elections.
Right. That's not the DOJ we want.
Something more along the lines of a mass call out for the release of those files on behalf of the Democrats years ago. That's the point.
Okay, so you want the Democrats to pressure their own DOJ, right? So you want the Democrats, the politicians, to come out and say, hey, Merrick Garland, we want you to release these files and to really take ownership of that issue and to put it forward. And here's the issue with that, Ogre. What is the risk of that? And hopefully you're seeing it right now. Based on what's going on with the Department of Justice. For the Democrats to undermine their own Department of Justice and call for the release because you know what happens after that?
Nothing of value gets released?
Oh my God! The Democrats themselves are calling Merrick Garland corrupt. They're hiding it to protect all the fucking Schmeta files. Look at what they're doing. Let's say for whatever reason Merrick Garland, I don't know, wants to take a week, 2 weeks to. No. Oh no. Good. Yeah, awesome. Why no?
It doesn't have to be. The argument doesn't have to be that he's corrupt or that he's hiding something. It's a
no, not what it has to be. What it will be.
Your Charlie drop?
We'll say the Democrats themselves are
Okay.
helping.
Why would the Congress have to compel him if he wasn't like hiding it improperly?
It's not a. Why would they release it if not for some manner of demand? I don't understand why it has.
We're talking about the political benefit to Democrats deciding if you're saying, okay, it doesn't originate in the hall of the White House because you recognize that would be corruption. That would be like what Comey did, right? That would be interference in the political process.
Don't make it an October surprise. It doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that.
What is the
You'd be okay
surprise,
with buying,
though?
let's say at the start of the year, saying, hey, you want to find some files that might help me, and this is kind of fucking tricky.
I'm just asking for like
Why does
5
it have to be
Epstein
something that
files.
specifically helps Biden?
I think it would have undermined public trust in the DOJ because they would have been limited in what they could release, and it would have made people trust them even less. And
How do you not go fucking insane how slow this judge is to make rulings? It's been like 3 months, isn't it? Because I know that he is working on very important stuff in his real life. I know that he's got other rulings that he's doing, and I love and respect and cherish every part of our legal system. That's why.
You think that Biden's DOJ wouldn't have actually gone along with the existing law that Trump's DOJ is not following? If
there wasn't a law.
There wasn't any law. The DOJ can release anything
Holy
anytime.
shit.
Yeah, but you skipped Pisco's point. You just skipped it.
Do you understand how bad it would look for Democrats to pass a law compelling their own? You realize that's a huge negative against Trump, that they had to pass a law to get the DOJ to even partially comply with what people are expecting with respect to transparency of the Epstein files. It wasn't a political benefit. This entire issue has not been beneficial to Trump. It's been negative to him. That's why I'm not understanding the people who are saying, oh, this would have been so beneficial to Biden if he just released it all. One, I think it presupposes corruption, but even if not, it looks horrible.
But it's only negative because of Trump's behavior since he took office. None of this would have happened the way it's happened if it weren't for Pam Bondi and Trump and their behavior.
Okay, well, I mean, that being the case, to me, then it doesn't come across like the Democrats should be getting some kind of like brownie points for being like ferocious fighters in this particular.
Why?
Because
now it's politically beneficial for them to do it.
It passed 427-1 unanimously in the Senate. Every Republican coming
That's
out.
good.
It sunk Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her career's over, and it's going to take out more people. And you say the Democrats accomplished nothing, all from the minority.
No. It's not a matter of accomplishing or not accomplishing. I'm just not going to go out of my way to give a huge standing ovation for something that.
I don't want to be a killer, but they're making me be a killer. Do I have to kill this guy? He heard me in here, and he didn't say, hello, friendly. Please don't come to me. You are so bad. Stop. You.
If the goal was to get the files released ever, if it was ever a good idea, then it was always a good idea.
That's not true.
That's not true.
I mean, that's just
Well, it would have never been.
I don't agree. That's crazy.
That's
if
stupid.
it's ever a good idea, something it's always a good idea to do it.
That's what it.
No, circumstances
you don't believe that.
make it a
Yeah,
good
obviously.
idea.
No, nobody would believe that.
Correct. And when Biden's in office, at that moment in time, I just think that like any kind of request or demand is gonna, unless it's funneled, like you say, from the Congress people or from like a groundswell of Democratic activists, the very Democratic activists who I think sometimes don't want to take any responsibility for their coverage, et cetera. But unless that happens, it's going to be corrupt. And if it does happen that way, it puts the Democratic administration in the position of on the back foot, right? When they're supposed to be concentrating, I think, on making the American people's lives better, et cetera, they're now dedicating hundreds of people to redact all these files. Like it's crazy to me. We have like 500 plus U.S. Or assistant U.S. attorneys and staff reviewing all these files under the Trump administration. That is a crazy amount of capacity in this time.
Which,
and
by the way,
Actually, wait, Pisco, I want to say something.
Thomas Massey said.
God damn it.
Well, I just want to say real quickly. Thomas Massey said a private organization with 5% of the resources of the DOJ would have met that December 19th deadline.
I want to say, Pisco, to your point, because I was a little skeptical of your guys' side of this, but what you just said kind of convinced me, where, yeah, if the Democrats had decided to do this during their administration, the amount of time and effort that they would have to redact, because, guys, redactions for the Epstein files, some of them are clearly like, all right, why did you do this? But a lot of them are very legitimate, like protections of certain things and private information. That would, I think, probably have been used against them in the same way it's being used against Trump now, to say, like, hey, sure, the Democrats are releasing the files, but they're just hiding all the stuff that makes them look bad, right? And I can kind of see how that would have hurt during the election.
To piggyback off of what Ogre Boy said, I do think you should give the Democratic Party right now a lot of brownie points because they're fucking demolishing Republicans politically and electorally. Like they are annihilating the Republican Party right now.
Yeah, but Republicans are annihilating themselves. Like in some cases, I think Democrats are doing active things to facilitate that. But in some ways, they're just like fucking getting out of the way and allowing.
Really? I totally disagree. I mean, they presided over the longest shutdown in government history. They emerged from that shutdown, the clear winners of that shutdown.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
what are you basing the idea that they lost that shutdown fight? Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. The number of Americans, the percentage of Americans that blame correctly. The number of Americans that blame politically the Trump administration and Republicans for those tax credits expiring, which now everybody is paying higher premiums, is like 55%. The amount of people that blame Democrats is like 20-25. They had like a 25-point lead in that respect. That is a political fight that they fought and won clearly. And right now, we're in the midst of another negotiation, a budget negotiation, where the administration themselves are signaling that they are prepared to make concessions on ICE. That's because the Democratic Party are pouncing and using this moment right now to actually push. That's not them just standing back passively. They are.
Let me respond.
He kept on trying to interrupt me, bro. I was almost done.
You talk for a while. Go ahead.
What? That was like 30 seconds cumulative.
Jesus.
Let Overboy go, since I was trying
After you spent, I don't know how many weeks with your main question that you asked people was to say, well, I think they could have waited like 3 more days before they waved the white flag and showed their bellies to the Republicans. Like, don't understand how you turn around and have this notion of like, they're going to fucking they kicked ass last time and they're going to kick ass again. We
that
live in a
doesn't
world.
me saying that they could have optimized a little bit more. To be clear, my podcast co-host will corroborate this. I never said. I said that they got close to having like maximal gain. I think maybe they could have stretched it out like 1 or 2 more weeks. That's been my position the entire time. But that doesn't mean that they didn't clearly win that fight. That doesn't mean that they clearly didn't win that fight.
We're arguing about optimal gains. So you see me and Hutch fighting about, yeah, they should have, I think that they should have be willing to do an indefinite thing. Hutch doesn't think that. We obviously fought about that a lot. But I come out of that fight thinking Democrats are better off for it in general. It's just a question about like lost opportunity cost. That's the debate. And I do think, by the way, I probably agree with you that Ogre, that I don't like our leadership right now in either Congress. But it's not the case that like I would say shit on Democrats aren't doing anything. They are doing stuff, and they're fighting, especially on the state level.
I mean, sure, but at the same time, even in this moment where they're talking about concessions and everything, wasn't it? It was maybe Friday. Schumer's already making concessions on his own concessions that he's asking for. Like he's turning around and he was turning around and saying that when it came to the masking, that no masks. But unless, like, if a terrorist group put out somebody's picture, then maybe we could do them. He's already giving up on the things that he's asking for before it's even been, like, agreed upon in press conferences and shit.
And some of these things
there's rare exceptions. That's what he said.
And some of these things that are being asked for are actually, like, a decent amount of them are just not wins. Like, it's not a win to ask for for cameras to be on constantly. Like, that is...
What?
Yeah, there is... first of all, they have control over the cameras themselves. I wish that
abolish
I kind
all
of
police.
more, but there was an interview on Democracy Now! With someone who kind of like was like a well versed with all this stuff, who kind of goes into the reasons why
the author of propaganda, right?
What's that? Yeah, it's the author of propaganda. Exactly.
Oh, this is the actual Justice Warrior shit, right?
Yeah.
What's your argument for the cameras being useless? Who cares what someone else is saying? What is your argument?
Well, I mean, part of it is that it is used as like a means of like unfair surveillance. Like historically, the use of camera footage is always curated by in most cases by the police, because that's most of the situations in the past where we've had
and Vadim, it's not just this guy. It's like the Democrats have said this, and this is very reasonable. It's the camera is not a win unless you attach the caveat of you guys can't control what footage comes in and comes out, and you can't be using this for mass surveillance purposes. That's of course the argument. Not that the camera's always on.
And they're going to go ahead and do those things whether we like it or not. It's just not the win that
you could attach criminal penalties. You could attach criminal penalties if the federal law enforcement officers disable their camera right before they do a raid or something like that. You can codify that into policy, into law, right?
Oh God, I hope they do that one saying, this thing every time they say it. I love this because it makes me come. Sometimes when I want to come 50 days, I just repeat some of these sayings to me. I hope they do the one saying where they go, then they're just going to say, we investigated ourselves and we found nothing wrong. Oh God, I love that one. Please, God.
They're doing that.
If everybody knows these guys are wearing cameras, then they know the footage exists. So if they try to delete it, it's going to look terrible. And the only reason
6 body cameras on when they killed Petty or Preddy, right?
Yeah, but we have other footage.
Footage is helpful.
And I was actually going to make that point. Is the official narrative, if it weren't for camera footage from those 2 incidents with Renee Good and Alex Preddy, would be these were 2 domestic terrorists who went there to kill ICE agents. In Renee Good's situation, she went there to run them over after they broke down in the street. And Alex Preddy was a would-be assassin who came to cause maximum carnage. That would be the official narrative if it weren't for video.
About people's iPhones from down the block. I mean, like
I
there were actual
understand
body cams on some of the ICE agents. And
you don't think that if they were wearing a body cam when Renee Good was killed, that would have been really helpful, especially in the context of like, did he get hit? Did he not get hit?
No, wait,
Hutch, what are you saying?
Ordered to be released, sure.
You don't think we should have body cams?
No, oh my God.
You're missing the point entirely.
I'm asking the fucking question. Answer it.
Stop. What he's saying is that if they have control over what body camera footage is released, to IRI's point, is that the official narrative doesn't get debunked until they release the footage. So it doesn't matter that they had body cams. We never saw the Preddy body cams.
Did they respond to political pressure, bro? Why do you think they released? Why do you think they released the footage?
This is also, just to be clear, like, that can be a point against them. This is a really stupid point. If you know they have body cam footage and they're recording that and then they don't release it, these guys are acting like, well, look, they won. They didn't release it. And it's like, well, I mean, did they win? Because now we can all say, hey, you have some footage that you could release and you didn't release it. Like, isn't it a lot better to be able to say that than to just be able to eat shit and do nothing? Like, that's a win in and of itself, you know? Good one. Any other good ones in here? Oh yeah, come be a good one. Good one, yeah. All the balls, every ball.
The guy that shot Renee Good. He was filming that with his phone. They released that the next day because political pressure went through the fucking roof. And the same thing's going to apply to body cameras. I think these 2 guys are horny to not acknowledge like a clear Democratic Party like win, a potential win.
That's
so you're preemptively.
Man, Hutch is fishing for that fight.
Up the way it did. If we had a delay in the release of whatever body cam footage, or if the body cam footage didn't see so clearly what we saw on that iPhone camera, which was they gunned this guy down in the back.
No, it's always better. It's better. I agree. It's better to have
you guys. I'm just kind of amazed here that all of you guys expect the like ICE to be so forthcoming and so honest with what they
not the
they
point.
offer,
He's close,
what they
please.
don't, given like their entire
He's so
fucking
close to
history and
saying
what
it.
we've seen within
You're
the
missing the
past
big picture.
He's so
You're
close to
missing-
saying it.
You're missing the big picture.
For the next
both,
3
no, sorry,
years.
shut the fuck up, Ogre Boy. You guys are missing the big picture. One, I want an actual answer from you, Ogre, before I go on. Do you support them mandating body cameras or not? I want to answer that.
Obviously.
You do support that happening?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're good on that. So then the question is,
I don't know if I
shit,
do.
is there? You're not sure if you do. Okay, well let me.
Yeah,
this is-
because look, I might, but I would want to investigate more of the kind of arguments about mass surveillance, the way that it would be used, and that's
What?
I would want to
Okay.
investigate that
Well,
and make sure how I feel about that before kind of
Two things
signing
real
off to
quick.
it.
Well, hold on. To answer both yours and Pisco's points, first of all, they're using their own phones anyway. Like, that's for starters. They're shoving phones in people's faces, saying that basically that you're now on a registry whether you like it or not. So the idea of people's rights being violated, it's already actively being done anyway. But the other aspect
You're
of this
missing
is,
the point. You're missing the point. The point is you need to
that's one
bog
of
them
two.
down.
I had one
No,
more, and it was going to speak to what you're wanting me to address.
You don't even know.
The other aspect of this is like, yes, body cams are obviously a good thing, but at the end of the day, you're talking about a delay, a dice roll as to whether or not that information that's on the body cam ever
You're
ends up being
missing
something that the
the
public has
big
access
picture.
to.
No,
Enlighten me.
you're missing the big picture. Are they going to abuse and selectively release and withhold stuff, whatever? Of course they are. They're already doing that with tax information. They're already doing that with everything they have access to. The point of this opposition, this resistance against the administration, is to bog them down in procedure and bullshit issues that they have to go into court to argue. The more little latches you have on about did they release the footage, did they not release the footage, those are ripe opportunities for us to go into court, issue a fucking FOIA request, ask for an injunction, release this information, they're withholding the information. The more you can bog them down in fucking court and paperwork, the better. That's why this is obviously good. I know we're going to have people with cameras there. We already expect people, patriots, that do their First Amendment jobs and record people. So it's not like the footage is necessary to investigation. I don't think that's generally going to dissuade conduct anymore. It's to bog them down in procedure and give opportunities for us to hold them to account, including this whole will they or won't they release the image. They're being corrupt. They're not releasing it. It's all about that.
Pisco, just to make sure we're not talking past each other, I think Ogre Boy's obviously said, and Vadim as well, for the most part, that body cameras are good, right? The problem is, to see this as a huge win, when what you just said, it's going to bog them down in some sort of bureaucratic thing where we can attack them here in these courts, that versus having transparent body camera footage of them doing something viscerally wrong and releasing that the day or the day after is such a bigger win compared to what you're describing as not a bad thing, but I don't think would have nearly the same amount of public outrage, the same amount of support for ICE plummeting, the same amount of pressure that'll...
Pisco would agree with this, but it's but what Pisco's saying is that even if they don't release it or whatever, you get something, right? Like, that's the whole point. He's arguing against these other guys saying, well, they just won't release bad footage,
allowed us to push the ICE out of Minnesota. I don't think that would have happened without the camera footage of this person recording. And
Yeah,
if that
you
wasn't
can't
there,
mandate it. They're just going to break the law.
hard-
So they're just going to break the law. I mean, you can't trust them to follow the law even if you were to pass it. Like, you're talking about an administration that is completely lawless and shit. Yeah, no, I agree. Would it be better if you mandated after every shooting all the body cam footage gets released? No doubt. Would I be okay with them arguing for that position? No doubt about that either. All I'm trying to say is this is good. This is what we want. And we want also the headline being Republicans bent to Democrats. Republicans saw that this was bad because guess what? That's blood in the water.
Hold on.
That's blood in the water that invigorates us to know. For example, another example of this is when they left, quote unquote, left Minnesota. Even if they didn't, right? Even if they didn't, that headline by itself is fucking helpful. And so I have no problem whatsoever for us taking this W. I do think that, and you guys heard me, right? I was mad about Schumer, or it was Jeffries, about the whole citizenship thing. And so there are plenty of things I think you can fault Democrats in terms of negotiations, but not this. In my opinion.
Okay, guys, I have actually the transcript of the interview that I was talking about with, his name is Alex Karaken. I'm not going to try. Complicated last name. So I can read what he had to say here, and I think it's worth hearing. So here I go.
You don't
if
remember
I have to say
it at
one
all?
thing in this
Okay.
moment, it is: do not become distracted by meaningless and counterproductive so-called reforms. Everybody who studies these questions understands that body cameras are not a reform to any form of police violence. There has been overwhelming research. There's so much research and overwhelming consensus on this question that even the federal government's own position for a decade or more has been that body cameras do not reduce police violence. Okay, that's a consensus. So you have to ask yourself, in the wake of outrage over police violence, why are so many public officials, particularly Democrats, pushing body cameras? I mean, after all, the person who shot Renee Good filmed himself in that interaction. When what we know from all the data is that there was a moment when the police were so desperate to get body cameras, so were prosecutors. They badly wanted them to dramatically increase their surveillance capabilities, to link facial recognition software. There was billions of dollars at stake in cloud computing contracts for the tech industry and the surveillance policing industry. The prosecutors wanted them so they could prosecute in higher volume, low-level cases against the most vulnerable people in our society. There were all these reasons that they wanted them. They wanted them for crowd control. You're seeing now with ICE, when they go out on the streets, they have these cameras. They scan the crowd. They're mapping people's faces. The policing industry wanted body cameras. They wanted them so badly that before they got public funding for them, they were getting private donations for people like Steven Spielberg because they were so desperate to get these cameras. Now, there's probably a lot more here that is worth reading, but it goes on for several paragraphs, and unfortunately I haven't read through it, but I think that just from that alone, we're starting to see this expert's very clear opinion that these conditions that they're holding out for are, according to him, just meaningless and in many cases counterproductive. So I'm going to go with this gentleman's point of view because I think that he knows more than all of us
Who
combined.
is this person? I don't trust this bear search. You say you trust this person on the basis of his expertise. What is this expertise? Off the top of your head, you know?
He's the author of Propaganda.
That's not an expertise. You wrote a book?
He is someone who speaks very often on myths about...
So you have none.
immigration, crime, and policing.
You're not talking about
and the last thing that I'll say also is that democracy now, I mean, like, I would like to be able to give you more.
I would say socialist-y, or at least ultra-progressive-y, like news network, but
in the moment about this particular person, but Democracy Now! Is excellent journalism. They choose like they are very discerning with the people that they have on and the experts that they choose to speak to on topics like this.
So I have an even better idea. I have an even better idea. Okay, this is what we'll do. Okay, we'll encourage all of our protesters not to take videos either. No one will take videos. Wait a second. Let me finish my thought.
Okay.
Okay. So no one will take videos, and because you agree, right? If people are like taking videos with their cameras, all these different angles, that's gonna be these tech billionaires like fucking Elon Musk, they're gonna be able to use all of that data to put it into their Palantir systems, right? So we should encourage all people not to record, correct?
No, because first of all,
why is the framing disingenuous, Ogre?
First of all, you're talking about average citizens versus the state, for one.
I know I'm talking about that. Why is the framing disingenuous? It's called a fucking comparison.
So I think because they're not saying we shouldn't record. They're just saying this is lackluster compared to what they really want.
No. Sorry. Sorry. I just responded to a fear regarding tech surveillance and using facial identification, to identify people related to crimes in these networks. That would be true both of body-worn camera footage and freely published imagery and videos from people who are recording on the scene. Correct. Soy pill. This is the soy pill. This is the soy pill. That is correct. That is true of both examples. Okay.
In the Democracy Now! Interview, I think that was the closest that AJW got to implying that these people don't want body cams. But I think the overall point is what he's saying is, and what the Democratic politicians in a subsequent article that he posted that also disagreed with this point was not that body cams are bad. It's that body cams is a platitude in their opinion. This is not what I'm saying, but they say body cams are a platitude. It's a meaningless win if they can control what footage comes in and comes out, and if they're just using it to their advantage and not to your advantage.
But they can't. No, I'm speaking. So you wanted to zoom out. So I don't know why you want to zoom out. I'm talking about something specific, which is a particular fear. The particular fear being that this data actually gives a lot of weapons for the administration. And you know what? To be honest, it sometimes does give weapons to the administration. But it's overdetermined because people are freely publishing these videos because they're on the scene. Notwithstanding that, our intuition isn't that we should stop doing that because we think that there's value in that being available.
My answer to what you're saying is that, like, yes, we should absolutely be concerned about that. We should be, as a society, and also just political content creators on the internet, my opinion is that we should be speaking up about these issues so that hopefully mass surveillance doesn't get to the point where every single time that we shoot like some video, it's just going into the Palantir system. Now, we might get to that point, and even if we do get to that point, I would argue that it is still better for civilians to be shooting people because, again, we have the matter of, like, are the authorities going to actually be forthcoming with the footage that we want them to? No, of course not. So it is still a net win for people to be shooting what they can because then they are kind of like more in a position where if shit goes pear-shaped, they can fucking do something.
What about Palantir? What about the threat?
Peace go. We got 30 minutes left, and I do want to take a step back and talk about
30 minutes. Oh my God, they haven't even done their Hutch bash yet.
I have a perfect super chat to transition to this for the last half because this is the main reason Ogreboy and Vadim are on. He said, definitive answer from both of you. Vadim, you can go first. Would the country be better under a Kamala presidency?
Oh, absolutely. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah.
Okay, Ogreboy, yes or no?
Both of you vote for Kamala?
Wait. Let Ogre.
Yeah. I was telling people prior to the election that they should be voting for her if that was something that, if they were coming to me for advice on electoral politics specifically, I laid out the issues and I still said ultimately that Kamala would have been better than Trump and that they should vote for Kamala.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to kind of launch into before we kind of...
real quick, super quick, Vadim, is there something wrong with your eyes, Hutch? You seem to be blinking a lot.
I just emote a lot, I think.
Okay, I'm not used to that. Go ahead, Vadim.
Okay.
Wait, that's a lie, right? Wait, hang on a second. That's a lie, isn't it? Ogre, you just lied?
Yes or no?
Wait, Ogre. I just want to be clear. Was that a lie? You just lied, right?
It was being hyperbolic and sarcastic.
But it doesn't answer. Did both of you vote for Kamala? I'm not trying to give you I'm just curious.
Yes, I did. But actually, I mean, there was something that I kind of wanted to launch into in the remaining time that we have.
We got to know.
Get to everything, but get to one conversation that I very much wanted to have with all of you, and so did Ogre, that is just basically directly connected to that. So I was told from Soy Pill that I'd have like an opportunity to kind of like read a little something that I think kind of like is a springboard into that conversation.
Keep it
is that okay?
Not the whole manifesto.
Gotta read.
Well, I mean,
we got a thing to read.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Okay, well, I think that this will. Here we go. Okay, I will just go ahead and read it. So. This was supposed to be said at the top. So, okay. So I said a big part of what brought me here today is summed up in this Twitter exchange that recently popped off and sparked a wider conversation on Twitter. In response to several centrist libs voting in favor for ICE funding, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib tweeted the following out. She said, "Shame on every single House member, including the 7 Dems who voted to fund this killing mob, cold blood killing in our streets, some even clapping and cheering. I'm so sick of fake-ass people who say they uphold our Constitution. No, you don't if you fund this madness." And that provoked political consultant Neera Tanden to quote tweet her and say, "A lot of people can criticize the members here, but the last person who should do that is a person who helped Trump win when she could have supported the Democratic presidential candidate." So here we go. And I just have like a few more paragraphs to read. I wanted to say that I personally think the purpose of a statement like this from Tandon is more or less akin to a thought-terminating cliche. She's falsely attributing blame for Harris's election loss here. And just to provide necessary context for everybody out there, in regards to Talib, she vigorously spoke out against Trump and the threat to democracy that he represented. But due to the ongoing genocide in Gaza, she decided to refuse to explicitly endorse Kamala Harris as a matter of principle, and also in the hopes that doing so, along with others, might have provoked Harris to do more for the situation. She was holding out for concessions. Now, I want to say that personally, I and Ogre Boy as well encourage others to vote for Kamala Harris in the lead up to the election, in spite of feeling the same way, in spite of believing that Harris was not acting on something such as in spite of believing that Harris not acting on something such as this would have inevitably helped to provoke a great disinterest and apathy amongst voters that spread far beyond that of leftists to potential voters of all stripes everywhere. God. And again, I encourage others to vote for her, but I absolutely, and I believe that Ogre did as well, but we absolutely respected those who held out for concessions because we knew their conscience, not only that their conscience would not allow them to do otherwise, but also because it was a very worthwhile tactic that was attempting to coerce Harris to take necessary action in order to ensure a victory. It was almost over here. Anyhow, in my opinion, sorry, I miswrote here. Anyhow, in my opinion, Neera Tandon's sentiments here provides an excuse to just throw out not just what she was quote tweeting from Talib, but anything and everything she would ever have to say of political value, because if she's complaining about something, she's supposedly to blame for it. So fuck her. Now, obviously, this mirrors exchanges that are had all the time between tons of people like ourselves in all sorts of ways, so I'm hoping a productive conversation can be had with all of that as a springboard.
And team.
There you go.
If I can, oftentimes in online politics, people will craft analogies. Let me try to craft an analogy here. Let's say that you have, a village of people, it's 2,000 people, the number doesn't matter, and they have some kind of a barricade around the village that they live in, and the barricade is somehow threatened by something. Let's say like water, let's say like the oceans rise, right? And it's established that the people that live in this village, they have to reinforce that wall. Otherwise, the ocean's going to come in and just drown everybody and destroy the village. And let's say you have somebody that's in that village talking a lot about the threat of the ocean and the water and all that. It's just like, this is really bad. There's water coming. But then let's say that person doesn't help reinforce the wall, and then the wall collapses. Would you think that the person who didn't help potentially, or not potentially, do you think that the person who didn't help could have helped to stop the water coming?
What? I've stopped this a lot over the past few months. This whole analogy thing. I'm starting to hate analogies. Analogies are supposed to be there for things that are kind of difficult to understand, or maybe they can kind of tease out some other moral principle. But I feel like the voting thing is quite simple. I don't know why you would even need to use an analogy on this at all. This is a pretty simple thing. The harm reduction concept, everything here is very, very, very simple. So I don't know. Yeah, it just feels like a lot. It's not the worst thing in the world, but. Is anybody here specifically looking for bastion cells? I got 3 of them.
I'm good. I need one more. I need metal.
Here, I drop.
Mechanical components. I appreciate you.
Coming and killing everybody?
Ogre, you want to take that?
No. I asked you, Vadim.
I'd like to go over to Ogre because I
can I actually jump in?
I also
already see.
Why did Vadim need to read that? The Vadim thing always feels like bullying because I genuinely feel like this guy is just he's like the serfs, but of the oh no, the serfs is left. He's just not very. He's kind of dumb. I'm sorry.
Wait.
Is this thing glitched? I alone have pulled like 8 or 7 bastion cells out of this. Am I just the only one getting them? Is nobody else getting a single one? Jesus Christ.
I already see you guys talking past each other. And what's going to happen is, tell me if this is wrong. Vadim and Ogre, this is my position, but tell me if this is a good steelman of what you guys are saying. The people that were holding out for concessions were not thinking that with their help, they would have stopped Trump. Their thought is, if you don't listen to me and concede to my argument on Gaza, you will lose. So it would be, in its analogy, it would say...
To be more specific, if you don't do the thing that I want you to do, I will help Donald Trump win.
Sure, I understand the framing. I just
that's not helping. Yes. They are already trying to do something about an apathy that is going to be there whether you like it or not. I very much like Ogre because I know Ogre Boy has a lot to say about this. And I said a mouthful, and he can talk very capably about this.
I thought you changed your mind about voting for Kamala, and you think that would have been the right thing to do. Didn't you tell me that?
The discussion in the moment is still the same. The idea of what a lot of people were trying to do in 2024, it was akin to yelling at the main character inside the movie theater while you're watching a horror movie, trying to tell somebody that
no, this was a United States representative who has a tremendous amount of influence in the state that she serves, which happened to be a battleground state. And she could have, at any point, told her supporters in no uncertain terms, the threat of Donald Trump is real. He is going to probably be worse than the first term. Everything that they're threatening to do in Project 2025 sounds like it will do a lot of damage. It will kill a lot of people. We can get into the USAID cuts, but I feel like that point has been made 1,000 times. And nobody forced her. You say holding out for concessions. I don't know what that means. Like, through the election? What does that even mean?
What do you mean you don't know what that means?
What does it mean to hold out? Was she hoping for a concession the day before the election? Was she hoping for a concession on the day of the election?
Looking for her to either do a weapons embargo or to promise a ceasefire. Hopefully,
and that didn't happen. But
that was right. If she had done that,
10 million people are going to die from USAID cuts, and it's partly her fault. It's partly her fault. Yes.
Vadim, what he's asking is, yes, holding out for concessions, a valid. He understands the concept of, hey, I don't really want to endorse until you do this. But once it becomes clear this is not going to happen 24 hours before, because she's not going to pass that in 24 hours, why not at that point then endorse?
Because it's a fucking genocide.
Is Donald Trump a fascist?
Is
Donald Trump a fascist?
Genocide?
Donald Trump is a fascist, and that's why, as I said,
is MAGA a nascent fascist movement?
Throughout her campaigning, spoke to that constantly.
You're not. You seem to be just breezing past the responsibility that people have to use their influence. To use their influence to affect the best possible outcome. Okay, if you are a sitting representative,
the best possible outcome.
You don't need to interrupt every time I speak, Vadim.
Yeah, but you're speaking like.
Let me speak. I am not long-winded like you. I can make my point in 10 seconds without 50,000 qualifiers. You seem to be of the mind that people don't have a responsibility to use the influence they have to affect for the best possible outcome. You think that people get to
I'm saying that this is the way that they are using their
couple seconds. You seem to think that people can just absolve themselves of any responsibility that they have. He's a United States representative. You cannot tell me in one breath that Donald Trump is a fascist, and then in the next breath tell me, but I'm going to stop short of endorsing the only person that could beat her.
Don't tell me what I think.
I'm telling you what you're telling me, bro. You're saying that
this is like Nick Shirley.
Have any responsibility.
Okay, let me
you know, you shaved your head, and I think maybe you have like some sort of
let's not do this.
Don't go there.
It's
confidence that gives you like psychic powers now. The lack of hair allows you to pierce my brain and know
you need a nap. Just say you need a nap.
Wait.
You need a nap.
Okay.
Let him tell you what he thinks.
Okay, let's go.
I think that they were using their influence to the best of the ability that they could by holding out in order to get something which they knew was the only thing that would win the election. Them kind of saying this scenario in which they kind of bit the bullet and did some sort of please vote for her. Like I know like it's a genocide, and they've like completely ignored us. They didn't listen to us at the they kicked us out basically at the DNC, and they are just kind of like shitting on us by funding a genocide of our community.
Genocide.
Please just go ahead and vote for her anyway.
Genocide alert.
In some cases, that would have gotten a few more people out to vote, but that would not have created the sort of groundswell of support that would have occurred if they were successful.
Okay, I follow you. So if they don't have influence sufficient to make any kind of meaningful impact on the election, why were they making demands?
Well, because
hang on. Pause on that for a second. Okay. What leverage did they have? You're saying, well, they couldn't have really made a difference. Then what doesn't that annihilate the very premise? Like it's absurd that they would be holding out for concessions because what leverage do they have?
Well, one, you act as there's also another aspect of this, which is just kind of like at a certain point, people do have certain kind of principles that they are going to hold to, and that's is there no situation where you guys would where you would respect someone who did the same if
there are some situations. No, there are some situations. Just they didn't present themselves.
Well, if there are some situations, then why not of all things a genocide?
A genocide.
If you're going to have,
I'll tell you why.
If you're going to just last sentence, okay? If you're going to have the cutoff at some point, then why is a genocide not the point where you start doing that?
So I give this example a lot. Wait, because Vadim, I give the example a lot of I know people who have family in Gaza that were killed by Israel. Okay, I understand their line of reasoning of wow, it's very hard for me to hold my nose and go say, yeah, the person who helped that happen, I'm going to go vote for you. But it's our job as content creators and politicians as well, especially so, to say, hey, just because this thing is happening and is awful, there are more things that are going to happen. And because both of you acknowledge Trump is just demonstrably worse. We need to do everything we can to stop that.
That
It doesn't
would not
matter
have
if you
won the election. There's no scenario.
No, wait, I agree with that. I agree.
Wait.
I agree with your take that the Gaza issue didn't swing the election. That's why I think it's so ridiculous sometimes
to make
people to claim credit that, oh, if they had, Hutch's point, if they had just listened to us, they would have won the election. I think that the loss had to do more with prices and whatever. But that's not what people are pointing at and why they're upset. Yeah, this response, this quote tweet isn't directly responsive to the issue related to whatever, these 7 representatives who I condemned for their vote, including whatever, Glusen Perez, etc. What people are upset about isn't, well, we know they would have had a statistical effect in the election. It is the priorities of these people and what they view as the existential nature of the threat or that Trump imposes. The fact that we are all on this plane together and we're all going to fucking die if we don't gather forces and do what it takes for the benefit not just of ourselves, but for millions of other people in other places, including the people being slaughtered in Gaza. And on every score of that, there's a frustration not to be lectured to by these people. I'm not saying that it's directly responsive to what these people are saying, but you should at least understand where it's coming from. It's being sick of it. It's being sick of this kind of talking down to people who wouldn't even do the bare minimum.
No, you're like. Okay, go ahead. Ogre Boy has
There's a couple different things here, and the first one is
I don't have enough ammo.
One of the arguments, or at least the attempt to try to make this make sense, is that it's not a matter of what we as a group or the people sitting on Politics Nerd Island that spend all day reading and listening to commentators and public speakers and all this different shit. It was an attempt to try to like get some kind of message across to normies and have normies hear what comes out of the candidate's specific mouth to say what they were willing to do. She had the opportunity sitting across from Dana Bash to say, what are you going to do different? And she said that she wasn't going to do anything different.
But played out, Ogre, can I just say played out? So let's say, for example, let's say that we're in your world of political sort of analysis. Kamala Harris says, you know what? I'm going to announce for the first time here, Jake, whoever's doing the fucking debate, what's happening in Gaza is a genocide. And I'm immediately resigning. Because that's what you would have to do, wouldn't she? That's what she would have to do if she were the vice president of an administration that is a party to a genocide in that respect. The way you're saying is she can't be a party to it, she has to resign. How the fuck can she declare it as a genocide from her position as vice president, part of that administration?
I'm not
Talk me through it, Ogre. What should she have done then
that
she didn't do?
You're picking the maximalist position in the other direction to try to turn it into
so you don't hold
some
it. You don't hold it
sort of
against her. Yeah, right. So you don't hold it against her. So
I'm saying all she had to do
let's
was
just do the other
play into
scenarios.
Can we fucking talk? What's happening here?
Uh-oh.
Only thing that she had to do was say
no,
yes, under
caught
my
up.
administration, if evidence comes across my desk that the Leahy Act or the Foreign Assistance Act, 620I, I believe, that when and if these things are being violated, I'll look into it. That's it.
Yeah.
That would have been. That would have been enough to get a lot of the grassroots activists. Why would you ask me if that's what I feel is necessary when I'm telling you what I think is necessary?
Okay, so what you've just produced, right, is you're saying, I'm not asking her for the sun and moon. I just want some sort of token gesture that she would look into her boss and everyone that she works with for violations of the Leahy Act. Okay, but that's
the person that
and then what's the ogre? Let me finish. What is the next question after she says, you know, I think that we should look into violations of the Leahy Act? What's the next question? You produce it. What's the next question? Go.
Why hasn't Biden done that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Do you feel, or how about number 2? Do you feel the Leahy Act has been violated under administration?
Can you let me talk for 5 fucking seconds? This is so exhausting.
Maybe our administration is violating its obligations with respect to genocides. And so
if we go back to what I
that's
actually
a good
said,
political strategy.
Can I go back to what I actually said as opposed to what you tried to make me say? I said all she had to say was essentially if information comes across my desk that there's violations of the Leahy Act and the Foreign Assistance Act, I'm willing to look into it.
For the lefties to pretend like that would have been good enough is fucking hilarious. There is not a person in the history of all of existence that believes this guy when he's like, oh yeah, if she would have just said that, I would have been totally okay with her. Oh my God.
That would have appeased a lot of the leftovers.
And also, bottom line, here, let me ask this, because this is one of the things that I wanted to get at. Do you guys even fucking continue to read articles or stay up to date on any news whatsoever to any of this shit?
Why is that relevant? Why is that? Hang on. So first of all, why did you just bring that up?
To own you?
Why did I just bring that up?
Got him.
Yeah.
Because
so you're like, are you studying your Gaza? Yeah. No. So and why is that relevant exactly?
Because there was 2 articles that came out in November specifically about how the Biden administration knew in December of 2023 that they were already committing war crimes in Gaza.
No. You're getting into the substance. You're getting into the substance of the argument. That's not what we're talking about.
I haven't forbid I touch on substance.
No, but you know that's not what we're talking about. Do you want us to actually have a conversation about whether or not they have violated the Leahy Act, or whether or not is that what you think we're talking about, Ogre?
I'm talking
you don't
about
think
a
that's what we're
failure
talking
on
about.
their behalf to do what's right in order to actually.
You don't think we're talking about the Leahy Act, do you?
Not only to be on the right side of history, but to also simultaneously save the potential for the fucking election. Yes.
Okay, no. Let me jump in here. There's a couple things I want to point out. Okay, there have been multiple independent organizations that have done their own estimates about the projected death toll from USAID cuts.
Don't care. Gotta be Jews. No Jews, no news. Who cares about USAID, bro?
There was nothing in Project 2025.
No. Don't moralize to me about Gaza and imply that I don't give a fuck about like
You
people
learned
dying or
about
whatever.
relative
If you're gonna
primacy
poo-poo and
fallacy in
hand
your own
wave
stream
the
and
current
relative
with the USAID.
primacy
dude.
fallacy.
You,
Oh my
all right?
god.
You don't even think it's a
Please,
genocide.
hold on. Just
You
give me
don't
a
even
second.
what you're speaking. Don't speak. You told him to speak. Fuck
Yeah, I know,
you.
but it's just like-
The current projections.
You're doing this like
Hutch, wait, Hutch. I muted them. Start over, and then they
The
can
current
talk, right?
projections right now, and I'm gonna make my other point.
Censorship.
The current projections now are that 200,000 kids on the low end of the estimate have died just in the last year from USAID cuts. That number is expected to swell to over 1 million. So you have no leg to stand on. You have no leg to stand on. Moralizing.
He doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Your red line of Gaza was some kind of justification to allow the Trump administration to come in and do what he did. I want to make my second point that I think is much broader, which is
Can I
that
respond to
you
that?
guys need to stop treating these elections like it's a fucking game that don't have real consequences. Okay? These are real. People are living and dying because of these things. The outcome of the election is so
oh my God, shut
enormous.
The fuck up.
A week ago.
You don't even believe in a genocide, and you're trying to pretend like
You
elections
don't
matter.
get to tell me. You don't get to
A
tell me
week
that
ago.
it's. Hold on. Let me.
Wait, is
I
my
wasn't
mic
quite
on
done.
now? I thought
wasn't
it
quite
was.
done. Stop using the threat of helping
just gonna work the
Republicans
clock?
win.
You are
Stop.
reversing this whole
Listen to me.
thing.
Stop
Dude,
using
you
a
are
strategy
far
of
more
I'm going to
people
help
like yourself
Republicans
are
win.
far
This is
Okay,
pathetic.
Vadim,
This
please,
is
just for a moment.
Vadim,
You
this
are
is
far
pathetic.
more to blame.
Don't ask your soldier
you're just
boy
gonna
to
keep
jump in
working
and
the
take
clock?
over for you and then jump in with this
You-
belligerent
Are you
nonsense.
scared?
Yourself. You
Do
are
I look scared,
someone
Ogre Boy?
who still to
Do
this
you two
day-
intimidate
Whoa.
me?
still
Okay, wait,
to
Hutch,
this
let him
day-
respond.
No, I was
Still
not.
to this
Let me
day.
make my last point.
What the fuck
Hutch,
you
up,
guys-
let me respond.
Can you mute them for a second? Mute them for a second. I'm serious.
Well, Hutch,
This
I might be you
belligerent
'cause you
clown.
let him respond.
You're gonna have to
Let him
talk.
respond. He cut me off, bro. He's been screaming the
Yeah,
whole
but you-
time. It is.
Yeah, because I'm fucking
Vadim.
disgusted by what you're saying, and I need to.
You told
The
Ogre
battle of
Boy
the
to
virtue
jump
signal.
in because
He's
you
got a
don't know
virtue
how to
signal on
collect your
Gaza.
thoughts, and then I start
No, I
speaking
know
and you jump in and
exactly
start
what I want to
yelling.
say.
No, you
I know
don't.
exactly what I want to say.
I'm muting all three of you.
He didn't
okay?
die. Why?
Wow. I think your point was almost done. You did make a lot of points there, and clearly Vadim wants to have a little response to this, so let's let Vadim get a word in, then Ogre Boy can respond, and then you can all scream at each other again. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah. Okay. So it's my turn
Just-
now. Is that what's
Yeah, go
happening?
ahead.
Speak!
Go ahead and respond.
Jesus Christ!
Bro, you are far more to fucking blame for this situation. So you're someone who every step of the way has denied that there is in fact a fucking genocide going on to
He can go
begin
through
with.
that?
So like I'm not like going to be like
Good one.
lectured by someone who actively helped create a status quo with the situation that is the reason why we lost the election because fucking
It's always actively, remember.
the Dems and principally Biden and Harris did not do not only what was a moral imperative, but what was an imperative to get people out to vote, to create a groundswell of like like a feeling that they were going to actively be different than Biden and you have to start from like in order for me to like vaguely respect anything you're fucking saying, you have to like actually acknowledge all of the experts and like the massive
Oh my
amount
God.
of data that we have that points to it actually being a genocide before
No,
you
but
try and
Vadim-
guilt trip us about this bullshit.
Did you
Go ahead, guys.
did you see the exit polls, Vadim? Like that issue was nowhere near the top of why people voted.
Well, there
But I've
are
already
lots
put in front of Hutch before like a aggregate of 34 different polls that show that it would have meant winning in the swing states for Kamala, and the first name on that list that put the first poll was Laksha Jain, your guys' fucking polling boy. Like The information.
Our polling boy. What?
Polling boy.
The guy
What
we
the
had on for
fuck?
podcast is our polling boy. So we.
That you guys glaze. That's your boy. Hutch is your
we-
boy. This is your polling boy. What do
It
you
was
want?
inflation and immigration. Inflation and immigration.
I'm not talking
and
about
you're right, Vadim.
nationwide. I'm
They-
talking about in the swing states, which she lost. Wait, wasn't it all? It was all of them, right? Right. So
Yeah.
even
Wait.
the people that you guys nod in the
Wait.
direction of-
Just pause right there. Why did you say? Oh, it was all of them, right? Are you like trying to dunk on the fact that she lost? Like,
Super
wow, like
mad.
you're happy she lost. That's what it seemed like. But
Yep.
you can
No,
dispel
my
that, right?
name isn't Cenk.
Why did you? Wait, no. But why did you do that? There, right there. You were like. All of them, right? All of them.
Because
Like
the
you're trying to twist the knife.
conversation is about
Why are you
trying
trying to twist the knife? I'm
warn
asking.
for
Are
impending
you
doom.
trying to twist the knife when you do
Because
that?
there's also an absolute refusal to learn any fucking lessons from this whatsoever, and blindly, reflexively defend people that didn't want to win.
Okay.
Didn't,
Can I jump?
She left. She
Can I jump in?
absolutely explicitly left votes on the
it.
table. And the real bitch of this is, I actually brought like a full 2 pages of fucking notes, clips. I got shit that I was going to use to make my fucking case.
Those analyses,
I thought there was going to be something fucking substantive that was going to happen.
I had a
tonight.
conversation. I had a conversation with Prime about this stuff, and those analyses they only do like one part of it, which is like how many votes you would have gained, but you don't do the calculation of how many votes you would have lost, and that's what's so insane about this entire thing. You know,
But
any
that's
kind
my
of
point. You guys, listen. This is actually, to me, this is actually really important. There's an element here that you guys, in Hutch specifically, which the whole point of this was like, Vadim and Ogre Boy confront Hutch. There's a whole cross-section of this information that you guys never present to your audience whatsoever.
Which
There's a
is?
half of this story that's completely missing,
oh,
and then maybe they could come
No,
to
this
the
is
conclusion on
bullshit,
their own.
Ogre. Because you know I get a lot of shit because I am someone who thinks that like we shouldn't be doing this kind of like pivot to mansion or whatever the fuck it is. I get a lot of shit for that kind of stuff. And when I say I don't think lefties cost them that Kamala the election, I'm basically saying that by and large, the left came through for Kamala. That's my empirical conclusion based on the data that we have available. What you're suggesting is the left did cost Kamala the election. That is
Not
what
a
you
matter
are
of left or
suggesting.
right.
No.
So I'll ask you now. Did the left cost Kamala the election?
No.
What? Why not?
That's you're missing
virtue
the
of what?
point. In
Wait,
virtue
wait.
of what? The
Because
whole
of
point
virtue of
was
what
the
did they
loss
asking?
in the
election?
swing states. It was the loss of the normies, the ones that don't pay attention to politics the way that we fucking
They
do.
cared about Kamala's position. So the ones who are not read in on Israel-Palestine, those are the ones
that
she
go
lost.
off of the bare minimum information that they have the ability to even pull their heads up from their lives and take a look at on a daily basis.
And they knew enough
then
to know
when
that Kamala-
And then
Yeah.
when Kamala has the opportunity to go on a national stage and say what the fuck she's going to do different, including Gaza, was basically she's not going to separate herself, which she also
Understand how
fucking
insane that
lied
is.
about during her book tour.
You're suggesting that the least informed among us.
Guys. She could have just fucking lied. Politicians do it all the time.
Oh, all politicians lie. Oh my God. Oh, my head just exploded with that astute political analysis. Oh, politicians lie.
Could have just lied, and
She had her people.
and
And
then
say what? And say what?
and say that she was going to implement an arms embargo or force a ceasefire. She could.
All right, what's the
How you
question?
want her to lie?
Vadim. First of all, I mean that's not going to be. People are going to be upset that she like lied or whatever.
I don't want her to
Two,
lie, but I'm just saying to like.
Imagine she said this. Imagine she says this. I believe that there should be an arms embargo on Israel.
Yeah.
What do you think is the problem with the sitting vice president coming out and saying that?
She's not pressuring the current admin to do it.
I don't know, but it was the
You can't think he's very slow. I'm sorry.
right thing for her to do.
It undercuts Biden in
Yep.
the course of the negotiations that
Sure
they're
does.
actually having, where he was actually trying to push for a ceasefire near the end.
Yeah, and that-
his vice president over there talking genocide, talking arms embargo, talking all that
That
stuff.
would be
These are
great.
sensitive
That
international
would be great,
conversations.
actually.
Just so you're aware.
People wanted there to be a they were getting sick as fuck as
All right.
Biden. And so they wanted a departure.
And
especially
number
wait,
two,
wait,
and
hold on, wait, wait.
number. I just want to finish. And number
right.
two, she looks weak. It'll make her look weak. So I'm not saying that I don't agree with the policy. I don't think that we should be. I don't think we should be giving funds to Israel. But the political. But the political. No. It makes her look weak. It makes her look weak.
It does
All right.
not make her look weak.
okay, all
Like, there's nothing strong about capitulating to like your boss.
I
Like,
wanna-
just asserting yourself and doing something different, which the whole country wanted her to do, would have
Can I agree?
protected strength.
Can I agree with you,
ahead,
Vadim,
Hutch.
and just say briefly, I agree with you that Kamala did not do a good enough job separating herself from Biden and showing how she would be different. I don't think it would have mattered on the issue of Gaza. I think it had way more to do with inflation and what she would do for this country to make people's lives better.
Well, hold on.
Okay, well,
to be fair,
well,
can I play off that for just a moment?
Go for it.
So, first of all, no, that wasn't the singular thing, but it would have been an indicator that she was willing to start branching off in a different direction or a slightly different direction from Biden. That you're correct in that. It wasn't the only thing, but there would have been enough there to, I think, especially if it had happened earlier, that could have gotten a lot more grassroots attention and pushed her campaign farther than what it had. And I still, like I said,
why are we even fucking? Wait, can I ask? Why are we even talking about this? This is a deflection because the difference is we are willing to acknowledge that there were mistakes. Let me finish. We were willing to acknowledge, and Harris herself is willing to acknowledge there were mistakes in the campaign. What you guys crucially are unable to acknowledge is that every voter who stayed home because of Gaza did a disservice to this country and should be ashamed of themselves, including you, Ogre. You tried to slide in and say, well, I told other people to vote. You did not vote for Harris, and so you have to reconcile with your own shame, which you have not done. You should have shame. You should have shame. You should have shame.
Because the other half I was going to say to IRI's point was that she lied about knowing the importance of separating herself.
I thought you guys,
after the election,
I thought you guys just lied, or just said that you wanted her to lie.
But they didn't know a way. She goes on her book tour in front of the fucking View and says, I didn't understand that it was that important to even do it. All of this, much of this shit is fucking cope. It's insane.
What? We have had so many conversations on this podcast about how Kamala Harris could have run a better campaign. To my knowledge, liberals do not shy away from these kinds of conversations. They happen all the time. So that's fine. We can dive into that topic if we want to. I want to dive into something different. I want to respond to something specifically that Vadim said. You said, or implied, right? And tell me if I got you wrong, that Kamala had a moral imperative is the word that you used. A moral imperative to do everything she could to get out the vote to beat Trump, right? You said that. I just said that.
I said that she had a moral imperative to I actually didn't say moral imperative in relation to her. But
yes, you did.
No, I didn't. But I'll go ahead and kind of say that I think she did. Yes, I think that any candidate should have a moral imperative to.
Okay, all right. So she had a moral imperative, right?
Get our funding out of a fucking genocide. Yes.
No. I'm saying she had a moral imperative to do everything she could to beat Donald Trump. Do you agree with that?
And so,
by doing the arms embargo, yes,
she would have.
I understand that. You keep going to that topic. I'm just asking you in generalities.
Yes,
you know.
He said yes. He said yes.
The moral imperative that performing this action would have won her the election. I believe that, and I can explain why.
No, I'm past. Okay, listen. Why did she have a moral imperative to beat Donald Trump? Specifically Donald Trump.
For harm reduction.
I don't know where you're going.
Oh my God.
Just walk with me.
You're
Vadim is
in this moment.
Vadim is not. He's like,
Why won't you answer my question, bro? Come on.
He's just not very sharp. This got to be so frustrating for Hutch.
Why did she? Why did
you like fucking mind games? And you're not accepting the simple fact that.
Okay, let me jump to the point. I just spare me, please. I just want to get. I've been very patient. You guys have been speaking. You're not engaging with me in good faith. I'm asking you good faith questions.
Just let him go.
You're not engaging with my questions. You don't want to do it. Fine. I'll just arrive at the point. You did say that she had a moral imperative to do everything that she could to beat Donald Trump. Yes. I agree. I think the reason why she had a moral imperative was because Donald Trump is uniquely dangerous, and him ascending to the office of the presidency was inevitably going to lead to mass suffering. Okay. What I put to you right now is that it's not, the moral imperative does not just rest with politicians. We are a democracy. We have a vote, and people with positions of influence, like politicians or even influencers, they also have
voters.
They also have a moral imperative, if they care about these issues and can see Trump for what he is, to do everything that they could to prevent that from happening.
That
Now, I
was
put that
the
same
everything.
moral. You only
You
want to
are
talk about the
acting
moral
as
imperative
though
of
all
Kamala
these
Harris,
outward concessions
and you don't want to
and-
put any responsibility on people that are
No,
in a
no,
democracy and have
Wait.
a vote and have a
No,
say.
no, that's
The
not
second
it.
point that I want to make, shut up, bro.
You've talked
Wait,
about
wait.
Talking.
about this.
Stop.
Dude, I'm
Wait.
speaking.
I gotta be both of you because you this is what was going to happen. You're talking about each other. Hutch, your analogy of the thing of like they're not helping build the wall, right? Wait, Hutch, please, Hutch. I want you to listen to me, please, Hutch. The idea that tell me if this is wrong, Vadim and Ogre Boy, is that they're saying, hey, you need to build this wall out of concrete, and you stack. If I help you stack up mud, it's not going to matter. And then they didn't build it out of concrete, and then the fucking ocean destroyed the village or whatever, right? So, like, can you engage with, like, they think this is the only thing that would have won the election? I don't agree with this, but you're talking past both of them.
I don't need you to translate for them and be like an intermediary, okay? He's a big boy. He's an adult. He's a grown-up, okay?
Are the people who
You
were
say that I was
shooting out at
responsible.
the
Going back to
iceberg
what you just
and
said,
saying,
you
like,
say that I was responsible for Israel's genocide
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I was,
more-
hang
more
on.
than
You
people-
said that I was partly responsible for Israel's genocide because I talked about the issue on my stream and expressed skepticism about particular language. You think that I am complicit in genocide? You said directly, you said I am directly complicit in genocide, but you don't think Rashida Tlaib was directly complicit in Donald Trump winning because she refused to endorse? What is that logic? How does that make any sense, bro?
Time, and he has made too many points for me to effectively hit. Okay,
Go ahead.
Is the idea supposed to be
What?
that as long as the party?
Shut the fuck up, dude.
is the
and
idea-
I made 2 points. How can you not
Vadim is
keep that in your
legitimately like an
mind?
85
I
IQ
understand
person.
you're
This
right.
conversation
I
is
made
not going to work.
2
He shouldn't be
points,
here
bro.
representing the
How
side.
do
He's
you
not.
keep that in
He
your
shouldn't.
mind?
He really just is not qualified for the
Ogre boy, go
conversation.
ahead.
Like
Is the idea
cognitively, he
supposed to
can't
be
do it.
that if the party just waits out the person that's wanting the
This Ogre Boy guy might be able to at least engage with the subject matter. Vadim cannot. There's a reason why he had to write a script about whatever the fuck he wanted to talk about, or why when he brought up that one guy in the Democracy Now! Show, he had to go look up the transcript for that program because he couldn't remember any of the points that he made.
session that they can go ahead and do.
No, that's not
whatever
the
thing is
point.
Anyway.
No, that's not the point. The point is on Vadim's view. If it's the case that Hutch is morally responsible for a genocide, that on that same view, right? Someone like, for example, Rashida Tlaib, or for example, Zoran Mamdani. By the way, I don't even grant this view. But if that is your view, by your own logic, they're responsible for Trump in some sense. And I even see you guys claiming responsibility in a causal sense, given that you think that it was a but-for sort of condition to her losing. And so that's the point. The point is an inconsistent standard that you only apply to like Hutch for the genocide.
Guys,
That's wild.
no. I need to explain what I am saying.
Oh,
that
God.
because I don't really like. If I'm gonna like really play the blame game, I'm gonna be talking about the shit that both Biden and Kamala did primarily. But if we are going to do some sort of hierarchy of blame, then absolutely I am going to blame people like Hutch, who never took the idea that there even was a genocide seriously in the first place, ignored the statements of so many human rights organizations.
So it was the left's
and
fault then,
experts
right?
And historians.
So it was the left's fault then, right? That's what you're saying?
If she would have rescinded her lack
it is you more than anybody else inside
Really?
that situation.
But the left could have prevented Trump from winning, but they didn't because of the genocide. That's what you're saying, right?
No. What I'm saying is that if the wishes of okay, I need to kind of like chill.
Take a break.
To kind of
take a breath
properly.
Maybe take a walk. Ask
Hold on, let me-
jump in.
can I just say-
Jump in. He's struggling.
Can I just say, while you gather your thoughts, there's nothing Kamala could have said or done that would have been
just
sufficient.
post-hoc
The
justify
goalposts
the
are
fact
on
that she didn't
wheels.
try.
True.
No,
post-hoc
it doesn't
justify
matter
the
what
fact
she
that you
said.
say.
It doesn't matter what she said. She could have said it's a genocide. To hell with Israel. I'm going to wipe them off the map if I get in there. It would have
You know what's
never,
really dope?
ever been good enough.
Did you
Let's
watch
not kid
Biden's farewell
ourselves.
tour?
Come on.
Did you watch Biden's farewell tour?
What is that? Yeah, some of it. Why?
One of his final comments when he talked about the secret to his success was saying that sometimes you have to know like the thing that's worth losing for. Like there's always going to be something that it's like, well, we can't do that because we might lose. Well, they lost anyway and still didn't do the thing that was probably worth standing on the right side of.
We don't grant that. We don't grant that. But what we're examining right now is the culpability, the relative culpabilities. And by this logic, I think you guys have to grant that Bernie Sanders is culpable for genocide because he didn't call it a genocide until September 2025.
He's also
so
had the best record.
I'm just gonna ask the question. So I'm just gonna ask the question. So I'm just gonna ask the question. So I'm just going to ask the question on the view that Hutch is culpable for the genocide. Bernie Sanders is correct.
No. This
Why?
is where I disagree from Vadim, but I think his mentality is very indicative of
He can speak for
why
himself,
we're
right?
fucked as a country.
Wait, Vadim, do you think it's bad that Ogre Boy has a genocide enabler poster behind him?
It's bad. Yeah, I mean, he's enabling genocide the same way Hutch is.
His refusal to use a specific piece of language, to be certain.
Oh,
he is still
now that
farther
matters.
Into the correct category of withholding arms to Israel, speaking out about what's happening over there. And he finally got on a page that not even Hutch is willing to get on. So
I think that if you are willing to use dead Palestinians in a political debate in the cynical way that you guys do, I question if you actually give a fuck about those people, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna try running this trial one more time, and then I'll 2x because these motherfuckers take forever to talk. Okay. Okay.